February is Black History Month, and there is a new Canadian series that will highlight the untold story of slavery in Canada and the Underground Railroad. Here with us this morning is showrunner and creator of The Porter, Annmarie Morais. Thanks for joining us this morning. This is a story that takes us way beyond the Underground Railroad, and with a very real railroad as the backdrop. Tell us about The Porter.
Well, good morning. The Porter is telling the story of the formation of the first Black Canadian Union, to the first Black Union in history. And we tell it through the journey of two brothers in arms who are fighting for their independence and autonomy in very different ways. So we're excited to bring The Porter to Canada and soon to America as well.
And lavishly shot. Actually, the show itself is making history. This is the largest ever Black-led production in Canadian television history.
Yes, we had an incredible creative team. We do have a larger team that is many races and many cultures sort of working together to put this story on its feet. But we were really blessed to have this foundation come from a Black creative team.
Yeah, now it's a fictional drama, but based on so many true stories. And I mentioned, you know, The Porter and, of course, the obvious railroad backdrop, but also there's the jazz hub in Montreal, close to the railroad, Little Burgundy. There's a lot of parallels here to Harlem, isn't there?
Yes, I mean, Montreal was in the 20s referred to often as the Harlem of the North. So we have a lot of that heartbeat of Saint Antoine, which is now known as Little Burgundy, and Montreal, though we were very blessed to have the generosity of Winnipeg as our foundation to shoot in. So we had an incredible time sort of stitching together these pieces of history that aren't spoken of enough.
And as you did this, what was the original inspiration, and where did you source material or research for this fictionalization of very real stories?
The original material came from our series originators were Bruce Ramsey and Arnold Pinnock, who were just fascinated by the history, Canadian history, by the little told history, where porters kept coming up. The mention of porters kept coming up in their research. And Bruce was a resident of Montreal, Arnold, an immigrant from the West Indies through the UK. They sort of banded together to find a way to bring the story. And so we have been on this road, on this journey, and they have been on this road for much longer than we have, but it's been 10 years in the making. And so here we are today with a great, incredible collection of creatives from all over the world, from Canada, the UK, from the West Indies. We're so excited. We're so excited.
Amazing. I'm recognizing many faces here, including Alfre Woodard, well known from so many TV shows, but also 12 Years a Slave. She must have been excited to be attached to this project.
We were excited to have her. She's like, we were so thrilled that Alfre loved the material. She remains a really enthusiastic supporter of the series, and just her presence on the screen is magnetic. It is electrifying. So we're excited for a new generation of people to know and fall in love with Alfre as the magnanimous Miss Faye.
Okay, and the period that this is set in?
It's set in the 1920s. We specifically started in 1921. And, you know, my co-showrunner, Marcia Green, often says, we see a lot of historical dramas and we don't appear. It's as if they're saying, well, that was just the time and that wasn't the lens. So we're like, we've always existed. So it's really excited to show this time through a different
and encourage people to research more about the real stories. What's the takeaway after we watch this series? It's one of ambition and hope, isn't it?
It's absolutely an aspirational series. So I think when you hear The Porter, you might feel that, oh, you're going to feel subjugated or you're going to feel sort of the burden of the struggle. And I think there's a part of that plays in, but it is aspiration. It is hopeful. It is saying to anyone of any race, gender, age, that when you face the giants of obstacles in your life, that if you look to the examples, you can, and you will succeed.
Okay, we encourage everybody to check out The Porter. So it's on CBC and streaming on GEM next week on Tuesday. The Porter, Annmarie Morais. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure.